Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said Sweden shouldn't expect his support in its bid to join NATO. Mr. Erdogan was speaking after a Swedish far-right politician publicly burnt a copy of the Quran outside Turkey's embassy in the Swedish capital. This prompted anti-Sweden protests in Turkey and in other Muslim countries. Sweden, along with Finland, applied for NATO membership after Russia invaded Ukraine, but they need the approval of all 30 NATO states before that can be granted. Well, to discuss this development further, we've been joined by Sinan from the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. Thanks for joining us. So the relationship between Sweden and Turkey, I mean, it hasn't necessarily been a smooth one. Turkey's always been a bit reluctant when Sweden started making noises that it wanted to join NATO. Why is that?
So Turkey has nominally got some issues with Sweden and Finland joining, particularly when they announced this in mid-2022. And those mainly related to Sweden's providing sanctuary to what Turkey considers to be terrorists, as well as the European Union and the United States, from members of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK. Turkey has requested that a number of their sort of members be extradited back to Turkey, and that Turkey provide essential services to undermine and cut the sanctuary that the PKK receives in Sweden, as well as lift an arms embargo which Sweden had on Turkey since 2019, before it was willing to consider Sweden, particularly Sweden's membership of NATO. This Quran burning incident has only essentially heightened more demands from Turkey and put the issue more under the spotlight.
What can Sweden do now? So clearly, as you say, this is going to sour relations further, but what can they do to turn it around?
To be honest, I don't think there is anything that Turkey really wants of Sweden, particularly the Erdogan government. The longer this incident plays out, where they can keep Sweden under the spotlight of Islamophobic sort of activities or essentially carrying out acts that are seen to be contrary to Turkey's interests, right? The more that this Erdogan gives President Erdogan a sort of rally around the flag effect, where he can mobilize voters because he is up for re-election. So President Erdogan may not necessarily be interested in Sweden doing anything to blow these negative winds away, at least until the election, which is thought to be going to happen on May 14th. So the longer this sort of plays out in any sort of guise where Sweden is giving a negative sort of light and President Erdogan can actually sort of keep this in the spotlight, the more he can actually make use of this. So it's not what more can Sweden do to allay Turkey's fears. This actually plays out quite well for the Turkish government.
And in terms of what sort of collateral damage there is in terms of Sweden and its relationship with the Muslim world, this is possibly going to have some sort of impact there.
Sure, yes. I mean, we've always known that there's been a vast difference of opinion between the Muslim and Western world in terms of what the West especially considers, expressional freedoms. I think we've seen this play out previously in the sort of Charlie Hebdo caricaturization of the Prophet Muhammad, and then the ensuing sort of terrorist attacks in Paris. And for the Muslim world, this is not seen as an expression of freedom. This is just seen as essentially a hate crime, which must be prevented, and if it can't be, then certainly punished. At this time, the Turks have taken the mantle on sort of calling Sweden out. The reactions by other Muslim countries, in comparison, for example, Saudi Arabia, if you look at their sort of official statements, is not as sort of tempered as Turkey's is.
OK, thank you very much, Sinan. That's very, very interesting to join us. Thank you.